Another new AI wearable was just announced, but is there a there? Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. One of the things you will have noticed if you've been paying any attention at all to the AI space over the last, call it 6 months, is that there has been a huge explosion in the number of different companies that are interested in AI wearables. One that's gotten a ton of buzz, for example, is the Rabbit R1, which was designed in part by Teenage Engineering and came out with a very Steve Jobsian introductory video. Then there are all the rumors about the collaboration between iPhone designer Johnny Ive and Sam Altman, who are apparently out fundraising more than $1 billion. The most recent reports say that they are talking with Lorraine Powell Jobs and her Emerson Collective, as well as Thrive Capital, and previously we had also heard reports that SoftBank was in the conversations as well. Now, when it comes to that device, all we've really heard about its form factor is that it will not look like a phone. Speaking of phones, every phone device manufacturer right now seems to be advertising their new phone as an AI-powered phone, and I'm sure that will only increase when we hear about iOS 18 at the Worldwide Developer Conference this year. We've also had big, bold pronouncements that the era of the AI PC is coming. And so all of this is to say that hardware is big when it comes to AI, and specifically this new form factor of wearables is something that a lot of people are interested in. Perhaps the poster child for this is the Humane AI Pin. This has been buzzy since last year when one of the founders of the company showed off some of its capabilities in a demo at TED. For example, there was a live translation that sounded exactly like the speaker. Well, when the pin was previewed last November, it came with what to some was a surprising price tag. The device itself was $600, and you needed a $24 a month subscription on top of that. As The Verge put it, this wearable computer promises to free you from your smartphone. But then, echoing basically every review that we've gotten so far, they write, there's only one problem. It just doesn't work. Now, I think that there is a lot of agreement or interest in the underlying thesis behind Humane, which is that it would be better if we spent less time on screens, hunched over this device, furiously typing with our thumbs, and ignoring the world around us. So the question for the Humane AI Pin in many ways was two-part. One, are there actually use cases that you don't want to use your phone for that some device like this would be better? And two, is this that device? Now, I read part of the Verge review last week, but to reread the most important part again, the author writes, I've learned I do lots of things on my phone that I might like to do somewhere else. So yeah, this is something, maybe something big. I've seen enough glimmers of what's coming that I'm optimistic about the future. But then when that same reviewer asks, should you buy this thing? They write, that one's easy. Nope, nuh-uh, no way. The AI Pin is an interesting idea that is so thoroughly unfinished and so totally broken in so many unacceptable ways that I can't think of anyone to whom I'd recommend spending the $6.99 for the device and the $24 monthly subscription. There are a couple challenges that they flag. First, the device itself is a little fiddly, that you sort of have to get the position just right. Second, as they put it, the AI Pin is also just incredibly unsubtle. When you stand in front of a building tapping your chest and nattering away to yourself, people will notice. And everything gets in the way too. Then goes through a long list of functionality that the Pin doesn't seem to have. The author continues, the more I tested the AI Pin, the more it felt like the device was trying to do an awful lot and the hardware simply couldn't keep up. The battery life, they said, was rough. The projector's user interface was, to use their words, bananas. And ultimately they concluded, it feels like Humane decided early on that the AI Pin couldn't have a screen no matter what and did a bunch of product and interface gymnastics when a tiny touchscreen would have handled all of these things much better. Kudos to Humane for swinging big, but if you're going to try to do phone things, just make a phone. Now, other reviews came out that were very similar. Mark Gurman, who is Bloomberg's Apple whisperer, wrote a piece called The AI Device Revolution Isn't Going to Kill the Smartphone. Gurman had a similar litany of problems with the device. He said it can be slow to respond or fail to recognize the touch gesture necessary to begin listening to a command. It overheats to a worrisome degree and is missing key features like the ability to control timers and calendars. It can't tap into third-party apps and has a frustratingly brief battery life. Ultimately, he said the company acknowledges that the device is a version 1.0, but it feels even earlier than that. The controversy really ramped up, though, over the weekend when Marques Brownlee, who has something like 18 million followers on YouTube, published a review called The Worst Product I've Ever Reviewed, ... for now. People had an extremely strong reaction to this. Daniel Vassallo tweeted, I find it distasteful, almost unethical to say this when you have 18 million subscribers. Hard to explain why, but with great reach comes great responsibility. Potentially killing someone else's nascent project reeks of carelessness. First, do no harm. However, a lot of people disagreed with Daniel to an intense degree as well. For example, commentator Sigil writes, yes, a world where reviewers hide their true feelings about a product is so much better. Let's make sure consumers are never informed about the truth. For what it's worth, Marques posted a slightly more nuanced title on Twitter, calling the video Humane Pin Review, a victim of its future ambition. He said, "This clip is 99% of my experiences with the pin, doing something you could already do on your phone, but slower, more annoying, or less reliable and accurate. Turns out smartphones are pretty incredible. But there are occasional small glimpses of a future where this product could actually peel you away from your phone, reduce your screen time, and help you live more in the moment. And I can't be mad at that." Sam Sheffer, the head of new media at Humane, wrote, "An honest, solid review, Marquez. All fair and valid critiques, both the good and the bad. Feedback is a gift. We reflect and we listen and we learn and we continue building." Broadly speaking, I think there are two camps when it comes to the Humane AI pin. Notably, there is no camp, at least that I can find, that thinks the device is good and really particularly useful in its current format. The optimistic camp, however, is appreciative of the company taking a huge swing, recognizes the fact that totally new categories of technology are extremely hard to get right and take a lot of iteration and experimentation, and generally are glad that people are trying things even if they don't get it right away. The flip side is that some people are convinced that the entire category is complete vaporware. In a back and forth between Daniel Vassallo, who I quoted before, and Dogecoin founder Satoshi Nakamoto, at BillyM2K says, "His review is the product is literally pointless and bad at what it is setting out to do and doesn't need to exist. Anyone even mildly smart already knows that this product is a complete joke and only shows how delusional and out of touch some tech bros are." Benjamin DeCracker, who is an AI entrepreneur, writes, "Haven't seen any evidence that people even want AI wearables. The people enthusiastic about them seem to be the same people trying to sell you one. Meanwhile, the form factors people do seem to want, smartwatch, phone assistant, headphones, are being nearly totally ignored. Some people have ethical issues." Stuart Reed says, "I've said it before, I'll say it again. I absolutely despise the idea of AI wearables watching and recording everything we do. We need less surveillance capitalism, not more." Amit is Investing writes, "Wow, the biggest tech YouTuber just called the Humane AI pin the worst product he's ever reviewed. I've been on record saying most of these AI wearables are beyond nonsense, and the fact that people are buying them is beyond me. It seems most people buying them are tech enthusiasts willing to give new products a shot, not the average consumer. By the way, my bearishness on wearables extends to the Apple Vision Pro. It is absolutely useless, and I see zero, and I mean zero, use cases for it." As much as the company has been trying to put on a good face, the level of critique is clearly bothering people at Humane. Colin Cornwell writes, "Wild how many people want to see you fail. We'll make it all that much better when we win." Sam Sheffer again quote tweeted that and said, "Easy to dogpile, much harder to build. Yes, the software is not where it needs to be, full stop, and that's entirely on us. The overwhelming negative sentiment, what happened to optimism? What happened to pushing things forward?" Now, regardless of what one thinks of Humane, the reality is that a lot more people are going to try to create some version of an AI wearable before the category is abandoned. Take, for example, the pendant, which was just announced today, by Limitless, which is a spin-off of the company Rewind. Co-founder Dan Soroker, who had announced a version of this device last year, tweeted this morning, "Introducing Limitless, a personalized AI powered by what you've seen, said, or heard. It's a web app, Mac app, Windows app, and a wearable." So you may have previously heard of this company as Rewind. This is a company that keeps track of basically everything that's going on your desktop, in your meetings, and giving you the ability to get rich insights from all of that information, to be able to go back to exactly where you need to check something out. Like I said, the pendant they had announced very briefly last year, but the product vision has clearly come together in a different way. This form factor, people seem a lot more excited about. It promises a 100-hour battery life. It is actually lightweight. It comes in a variety of colors that make it potentially less highly visible. And it even has an interesting approach to privacy. So for example, the way that they show off how it would work in the context of a conversation is in a transcript, they show the pendant wearer, in this case, founder Dan Soroker, speaking with a new speaker, with the transcript saying, "New speaker is speaking but hasn't given consent to be recorded." Dan then responds, "This meeting is really important to me and I really want to remember your advice. Are you okay if I record and transcribe our chat?" The co-speaker, Sam, says, "Sure, no problem," and then is identified and actually becomes part of the transcript. Developer Nick Dobos writes, "Cool touch on AI wearables. Auto opt-in recording consent. Using auto voice ID. Need to see privacy concerns and solutions evolve." Now at this stage, I really don't have any idea which, if any, of these devices are likely to work. I tend to think that when it comes to completely new form factors like this, it's not going to be some one-to-one replacement use case that makes them useful, but something new that we don't imagine doing now, that once we start doing, we can't imagine a time when we didn't do it. Could Limitless keeping track of everything that you've said or done be that new use case? It's totally possible. It's also totally possible that there's something else that no one is imagining yet that is the thing. And it's totally possible that these form factors don't amount to anything, and that for at least some time to come, the devices that we're already using are the way we interact with AI. I will say in general, I am for more, not less experimentation, and so I'm certainly wishing all the builders luck. This is an area of building that I think is going to see more and more attention and more entrepreneurs, so I'm sure we will be talking about it again. For now, though, that's going to do it for today's AI breakdown. Until next time, peace.